The home improvement store chain Lowe's has decided to pull the plug on its advertising during a reality TV show because the show is too controversial. Now, it's not a body reality show where 20 women date the same guy looking for true love in a hot tub, or where the idle rich behave badly. No, the show that's causing controversy is about a middle-class Midwestern family trying to make it in America. Which is to say, Lowe's home improvement chain pulled its money from something that ought to be the most middle American thing out there. But it's not, because of the identity of those whose story is being told. Now, you may have heard of it. It's on TLC, and it's called All American Muslim. In explaining why Lowe's pulled out in a statement, they read in part, Lowe's has received a significant amount of communication on this program from every perspective possible, and individuals and groups have strong political and societal views on this topic, and the program became a lightning rod for many of those views, and as a result, we did pull our advertising on this program. What is the topic Lowe's is referring to there? The topic on which people have such strong political and societal views? The topic is being Muslim. They're having views on living in Michigan and being Muslim. That is a topic on which people have opinions. Now, the folks at Lowe's have decided they don't want to be in the middle of a hotbed of discussion. And today in America, simply existing as Muslim is enough to create a hotbed of discussion. What's important to recognize, though, is that Lowe's is making this decision because we exist in a social and political world that makes just the experience of being Muslim a status offense. In America, in 2011, just being Muslim is itself controversial, something that people feel they should have opinions about. And anytime your identity is something that is worthy of being shunned in public space, now that's a sign. That means we're not in the land of ideological or partisan disagreement. We're in the land of pure stereotyping and bigotry. And we know that because we have experience with it. We've seen this photo of Elizabeth Eckford trying to walk to school in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1957. She was a school kid trying to go to a public school in a town where her parents paid taxes. But in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1957, that was controversial because of who she was. And we know that that's what's going on when someone's identity is controversial. And that's what's going on right now with what should be an utterly non-controversial reality show about a Midwestern family. It's actually our broad climate of anti-Islamic rhetoric that creates the controversy. Just listen to what's being said about Muslims in a political context.
The statement was, would I be comfortable with a Muslim in my administration? And I would not be comfortable because you have peaceful Muslims, and then you have militant Muslims, those that are trying to kill us. And so when I said I wouldn't be comfortable, I was thinking about the ones that are trying to kill us.
We see an increasing number of Muslim youth radicalizing in America and attempting plots here in the U.S. or traveling abroad to join terrorist groups.
An ongoing successful effort to recruit and radicalize dozens of Muslim American jihadis who pose a direct threat to the United States.
We've had an invented Palestinian people.
Who would be profiled?
Well, the folks who are most likely to be committing these crimes. If you look at, I mean, obviously it was people. Obviously, Muslims would be someone you'd look at. Absolutely.
The message we're getting is that it's okay to profile Muslims. Why? Because Muslims are our enemy. Just Muslims in general.
I was on a flight to D.C. and it had a woman sitting behind me say, see that veiled woman? I'm very uncomfortable. So I turned around, I told her, I said, then you get your ass off the plane because I have a meeting to get to educate people like you.
They make me feel like no matter what you do, you'll always be a third class.
There's a lot of people don't know nothing about Islam, and they think, well, Muslim, all the same. And I hope people change attitude and accept the person for what he is.
I have no concerns about traveling around the anniversary of 9/11. I don't ever fly with fear. It's annoying to walk through an airport and know people are looking at you. You know, open up and say, hey, can I ask you, why are you wearing that thing on your head?
In the 1950s and 60s, kids had to walk gauntlets to school because going to school was controversial because of who they were. And today, a home improvement store chain won't advertise on a TV show about middle American family because of who that family is. Joining us now to talk about it is Valerie Kaur, the filmmaker behind the documentary Divided We Fall. Valerie is also director of Groundswell, an initiative devoted to building a multi-faith movement. Valerie, I am so thrilled to have you at the table tonight.
So am I. Thank you, Melissa.
So I want you to back up a little bit. This feels to me like something that has been true for about a decade now. So talk to me a little bit about your work around the immediate post-9/11 moment and this sort of anti-Islamic, anti-Muslim rhetoric.
That's right. You know, we've lived in the shadow of 9/11 for a decade. And it was in that moment that the world was divided into us and them. That as a 20-year-old college kid, I found myself, my family, and thousands of other Muslim, Sikh, South Asian, Arab, Latino Americans suddenly found themselves on the wrong side of that line. We became automatically suspect, potentially terrorist, perpetually foreign. And what I've noticed is that in the last 10 years, there have been resurgences of anti-Muslim rhetoric and violence over and over and over again. What's different about this moment is that in a time of economic instability, in an election season, there are those who have realized they can use anti-Muslim bias as a tool of oppression to gain political points, to gain a profit. And that is what's most troubling about where we are today.
Now, part of what I've been interested in your work, so you're Sikh, and the work that you originally did post-9/11 was in part about anti-Sikh violence that was about sort of misrecognizing and people assuming that men with turbans, for example, were Muslim when in fact many of them were Sikh. So is there, I heard you talking about divisions, is there some possibility of building coalitions around this kind of anti-Islamic discourse?
Yes, what I notice about what's promising about today is that there is a groundswell of people out there, not just Muslim Americans, not just Sikh Americans, not just people of color, but a groundswell of Americans who are tired of a politics of fear. That we are hungry to see ourselves in one another in ways that we haven't before. In the last few years, I've crisscrossed the country with my film. I've been to 200 American cities. And when people see a story of a Sikh family, remarkable things happened. I remember an African-American man in Chicago standing up and pointing to his braids and saying, "My braids are my turban." I remember a gay man here in New York City who stood up and said, just as I have to fight for the right of gays to come out of the closet, I have to fight for the right for Sikhs to wear their turbans. What I've discovered is that stories can save us, stories can break us hope, and stories can make us human to each other. And All American Muslim is, the quintessential American form of storytelling, a reality TV show, right? And they've done something as daring as to show Muslim families as real people.
Yeah.
This is the moment where we ought to stand up for this kind of storytelling to sort of transform the social imagination that has held up Muslim Americans as Muslim terrorists for so long.
Yeah, I have to say it never really occurred to me that I would be supporting a reality TV show, but I got to say I am there. Valerie, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Melissa.
Valerie Kaur, filmmaker, writer, and director of the multi-faith initiative Groundswell, which I am affiliated with and think is an extraordinary opportunity for a new generation to do political work. Now, right after this, on The Last Word, Lawrence O'Donnell is going to talk to Newt Gingrich's former spokesman, who is now asking for his old job back. Funny what resurgent poll numbers can do. Don't miss that. And straight ahead here, the best new thing. And despite having a stuffy nose, I'm going to be forced to say Jens Stoltenberg. If you were wondering if the Rachel Maddow show staff is really as nerdy as they seem, the answer is yes. Yes, they are.